Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Good afternoon, MFHL fans, and welcome into this edition of the MFHL podcast here on G-Show Productions. I'm your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth. This edition of the Manitoba Female Hockey League podcast is presented by, as you saw, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia with their commercial to start things off here, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools Terrico, as well as goaltenders. Week 6 in the MFHL already kicked off, actually, on Monday as we were in Niverville to broadcast the Eastman Selects game against the Pembina Valley Hawks, as there were plenty of chances all around for both teams in this game, and it was the Eastman Selects who would come out victorious. Take a watch. You're watching MFHL Game Day here on G-Show Productions. Now playing give and go, 14 and 16. Sent across to Chloe Carrier. Now to Lexi Ramillard. Surveys her options. Doesn't like what she sees. Goes back to Chloe Carrier. Now back to Ramillard. Low shot there. Rebound. Oh, nice save made by Rakowski to keep it out. One more chance potentially as the goaltender starts to bang her stick. That shot wide of the net. Ineffective, but out in front. Lucky bounce for Eastman, but can't take advantage of it as Rakowski strong enough to make the save. Puck now sent out of the Hawk zone and up for Cox. Cox passes across to Duran, drops that to O'Brien, England, backdoor! Oh, Pembina Valley can't connect with it. Schroeder sends this behind Isabella Carey, but she's able to pick it up. Going from inside, outside, now sent to the net, tip, but nice aggressive save made by Rakowski. Out of her net to play, rebound there, this time for Eastman, they put that away. Number 35, and Rakowski also had Grenier with her. Now in the slot, loose puck for Grenier, scores! Sending it all the way down deep with 34 seconds remaining on this penalty kill. Nice job by O'Brien to win this forecheck. Spins around, makes two Selects players head to the ice. Making them look silly, that is, with those moves. Heidinger trying to chip it past number 14 in Beatty. Strong enough to do so. Sending Delaney Rigaud, who has a player going to the net. Backhand and oh, scores! And with that victory, the Eastman Selects jump back into first place, now with an 11-1-1 record. The Avros, if they're able to come away with a victory, this weekend or come away with a better record than Eastman this year, or match their record after this weekend ends, they would end up being in first place based off of the tiebreak if both of these teams are tied in terms of their points on the season, as Eastman currently with 23 and Winnipeg, the Avros, with 21 and 11 games played, 13 games played for the Eastman Selects. With that loss for Pembina Valley, they fall to 5-9 as they'll be back in action this weekend as well. Face off against MFHL opponents in MFHL regular season play as we'll get to the schedule, the scores, and all that stuff coming up later on here. More so the schedule, the stats of players throughout this league, and some other stuff, as well as showing you the player awards for week 5 in the league. But we're going to start things off in terms of interviews in this episode with head coach of the Westman Wildcats and Troy Giould joining the show to talk about how it came to be for him to become the head coach of this year's Westman Wildcats team, talking about this year's Westman Wildcats squad, which is very young, as we'll get into that, and talking about how this season's gone so far and plenty more with Troy Giould on this edition of the MFHL podcast, the return here for episode 8, season 2 on G-Show Productions. Let's start off with Troy up next. So, head coach of this year's Westman Wildcats, Troy Giould, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Troy, it's your first year since 2017-18 on this staff, taking over as head coach for this year's 2024-2025 Westman Wildcats squad. Let me know, or let us know, the viewers, how it came to be for you to get this position this year.
Earlier in the season, or I guess back in the summer, early summer, I got a call from the existing head coach, Guy Williams, wanting to know if I'd come on staff as an assistant coach, and I agreed to that. And then as the summer went along, Guy ran into some health issues, so he had to step back, and the Wildcat board had asked if I would take over as the head coach for the season.
Yeah, and hoping that Guy Williams is, doing the best he can at this point. I know I've heard about, the awful things behind the scenes, and hoping for a speedy recovery to Guy and for this Western Wildcats team. I mean, doing them right now in terms of being currently third place in a very competitive league. What's that been like getting, used to things as a squad, as you said, a very young Westman Wildcats team this year?
Well, for us, it was just didn't have a really working knowledge of the girls that had come to tryouts for the season. So it was all brand new for me as well. So we kind of all started fresh together. And I think that's kind of benefited us as a team. We just kind of concentrated on the start of the season, trying to play the right way. And I think that's gone a long way for us. A good opportunity for us is we went out to Calgary to the Firestarter tournament in early September. And as a young group, it was really good to get away. Girls all stayed together. We had a really good bonding time there. So I think it really helped us before league started.
Yeah, for sure. Always great to be able to get that extra, team bonding in before the season, especially in a highly anticipated tournament, as I know every year that Calgary Firestarter tournament is. But as for this team, the big guns have been the big guns so far in terms of the returning players, and Ivy Perkin leading the way in points, Reese Schutte as well, and Callie Hillhorst being huge from those grade 12 players. Talk about, what it's been like to see those players, your stars, really carry the reins and step things up early in the year.
Yes, they've been fantastic for us, to put it lightly. They've kind of been carrying the load for us since day one. Callie was named captain of our team this year. She's been a steady rock on the point for us, and we have a really young D core this year. She's the only grade 12 D. We have two bantam age defensemen out of our six, and the rest are first year girls. So she's been really important to us in our development on the back end for sure. And then I can't say enough about Ivy and Reese. They've been fantastic for us, leading the way on the offense, and just creating an example of day in, day out, game in, game out, what hard work and perseverance will do for our club. And it's been a really bright and positive for our younger players.
Yeah, and speaking of young players, this team with 9 grade 10s and two underage players this season. What's that been like, dealing with this younger type of team? Like you said, this team got some good bonding done, but I imagine, maybe a challenge at times with these underage players against the older competition that they're facing against. So what's that been like managing this year's lineup compared to other teams you managed in the past?
Even though we're young, we're pretty confident in our group, and we've been able to roll the lines pretty consistent up to this point. And I think the biggest thing was just to get the younger players up to speed with the speed of the game, the physicality of the game, especially coming right out of Bantam and with our two Bantam age players still. I mean, it's just been that transition period, just getting up to speed. But they've handled the pressure very well, and we continually starting to roll on here as the season progresses.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty good start in league play wise, as talked about already. 8-6 to start things off. A bit of a tough week last weekend for this team. The losses piling up there. But talk about, this season so far, the ups and downs. I guess this being a down, how this group is looking to, bounce back and handle that adversity.
Yeah, we didn't weren't sure what our expectations were coming into the season, how well we would do being a younger squad. But fortunate for us, we have a really good group of girls that all get along and want to play hard for each other. So that's really helped. And the good start is definitely something that we'll take any day. We kind of had a little road bump here. We've lost four in a row. But I contribute part of that is the schedule's been a little tough this year for all teams, with the teams taking that 2 week break for the national championship. It put everybody in situations where having to have 3 game weekends, which is pretty tough at this level. And then going into last weekend, we had a really bad snowstorm out here in the southwestern Manitoba, and we ended up not we couldn't practice either nights because we had to cancel because of road cancellations, and then going into a 3 game weekend was a little tough without any practice.
Sure.
But all games were close. We were in every game. I think out of the 4 losses we had, I think we outshot each opponent. So we're right there. We just didn't go our way in those games. But coming into this weekend, we head to Interlake on Saturday night and then back to Yellowhead and Shoal Lake on Sunday. So we're hoping to break this streak and get back onto the winning side.
Yeah, and we're going to be in Stonewall actually tomorrow night to call that game. So excited to see this Westman Wildcats team in action for the first time on our network this season. But yeah, I mean, that totally changes everything, right? Not having the same type of routine heading into games against tough opponents, especially that Winnipeg Abros team to finish off the weekend. But given that not in the regular routine, like you said, this team's still keeping it close with, we've already talked about the youth and maybe some inexperience on this team. How much do you think that really says about this group? Like you said before, competitive and being able to, still compete even when things weren't in their favor.
Yeah, I think just the biggest thing is that our young group is eager to learn and do the best they can at all times. And I think the biggest thing, my takeaway to the season so far, is that we never quit in any game. Even when we've been down by a good score, they play right to the buzzer. And I think that just shows a lot of character of our young group. And I'm really looking forward to what we can accomplish by the time the end of the season comes around.
Yeah, and a group that could, potentially have some of the most confidence out of any team in the league come playoff time. We'll just have to wait and see until then. But is that part of the next part of the process is just, instilling confidence in this group as this team continues to work towards that playoff type of style of a game, refining their game before, the real games start coming up in February.
Yeah, I even reminded the girls on our game this past Sunday when we did play the Avros. It was our third game, and it was actually our halfway point of the league game too. So it kind of, I don't think the girls really realized that we were that far into the season already. We're one of the teams that have played some of the most games this year already as far as league play goes. So it was just letting them, reminding them, like we're kind of on the home stretch here now where we got to start these games starting to really matter, and we really, especially after the Christmas break, it's a push to the playoffs. So just making sure that they're ready mentally and just focused for every game.
Yeah, and you're not wrong about that. The season flying by so far as we're almost in December here. But this team, one more game to be played in the month of November, coming up on Saturday night. Game going to be seen on G Show Productions between Westman and the Interlake Lightning. And then going over to Shoal Lake to battle a big time rival for these two teams and each other between Westman and the Yellowhead Chiefs. The excitement level, what's it been like from this group heading into a weekend? Like you said, looking to get back in the win column.
We had a really good practice this week, and there was a lot of pace, and the girls were really excited to get back at it. I think they were excited to have those practices, knowing that we had missed those two practices of the previous week, and then having that 3-game weekend. Um, we're looking forward to the weekend. I know they're really pumped to get started again and get back on the win column. Really looking forward to the game tomorrow night, and especially on Sunday. The Yellowhead Westman rivalry has gone on for years, and even on the male side of things, I mean, it's just something when those two teams face each other. It just seems to be a battle right from start to finish, and I don't expect anything different on Sunday.
Well, Troy's a part of it now, this rivalry. So he'll be behind the bench for Westman's game on Sunday between them and the Yellowhead Chiefs. Tomorrow night, taking on the Interlake Lightning to start off their week 6 of action here in the Manitoba Female Hockey League season. Troy Giould, head coach of the Westman Wildcats. Thank you for taking the time and joining me here on the MFHL podcast. Best of luck this weekend coming up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Graham. We'll see you tomorrow.
And we will get to see Troy Gould tomorrow. In fact, as he just told me at the end of that he's going to see me tomorrow. And yeah, going to see this Westman Wildcats team in action for the first time in the 2024-2025 season on MFHL Game Day, live from Stonewall, the Veterans Memorial Complex tomorrow night. That game is going to be going at 8 p.m. Central Time, as we take you through the Week 6 schedule. Now only one game was played, and that showed you earlier on to start off this episode, the selects besting the Pembina Valley Hawks as Eastman continuing their winning streak, now up to 4 games in a row that they've won. As we take a look back at their action from Week 5, the selects with a 4-1 victory against the Hawks last week, and then following it up with a 3-1 victory over the ice on Saturday, and then having the, of course, Sunday off before taking on those Pembina Valley Hawks. As for the rest of the MFHL games for this week, doubleheader tonight coming up. As for the Yellowhead Chiefs game, that is going to be played on Saturday night in Shoal Lake against the Eastman Selects. They're going to be doing a teddy bear toss. As we take a look at their social media to give you the exact details, I think this is pretty cool. But yeah, it's whoever scores that first goal in the Yellowhead Chiefs game is going to be getting teddy bears tossed onto the ice afterwards, and all money is going to be donated to the Shoal Lake and area food banks. So, yeah, that's a wonderful initiative. I think that Yellowhead's putting on. The only other team, I mean, there's been many teams that have done it, but the only time I've been in action, in attendance for something like that was the Brandon Wheat Kings, the team in the WHL, doing something like that. So, yeah, great on this Yellowhead Chiefs team who's raising, money, funds, teddy bears, I guess, in this case, that are going to be donated to Shoal Lake and Area Food Bank. As for the standings in the MFHL heading into Week 6, 11-2, or 11-1-1 as I should say, are the Eastman Selects. 2 points up currently on the Winnipeg Avros. The Avros, of course, going to be in action coming up tomorrow night against the Central Plains Capitals. The Selects taking on the Yellowhead Chiefs. As for the Capitals, they got 3 wins on the season. They've been playing better as this year's been going on. The only team so far without a win, the Interlake Lightning. Going back to The Westman Wildcats, I mean, they ran into the top offensive player of the league along with the rest of the Avros in their final game of Week 5 as Adeline Nolgren ended up winning Offensive Player of the Week. Her biggest game coming in that victory against Westman, assisting on the opening 2 goals of the game, and ended up scoring the game winner, the 3rd goal of the game, as Winnipeg took home that matchup by a score of 4-2. As for Madeline Sylvester, she was big time, stopping 52 of 55 shots that she faced last weekend. Only undefeated goaltender remaining in the MFHL at this point with a 5-0 record, and yeah, she got wins in that 5-1 victory the Avros had over the Ice last week, and of course getting the victory in the pipes against the Westman Wildcats this past Sunday. Congratulations to Madeline on winning Defensive Player of the Week in Week 5, and for Adeline Nolgren on taking home Offensive Player of the Week. A pair of Avros taking home Week 5 award honors in the league. Speaking of another Winnipeg team in the Winnipeg Ice, their team captain and Isabella Mann is going to be joining the show next. Izzy for short, as the senior forward on the ice talks about how the season's been going so far, her experience with the U18 Manitoba women's national team, as she was a part of many MFHL players that competed against teams from all around the country a few weeks ago. And we also talk about the upcoming lone matchup that this Ice team has coming up tomorrow night against the Pembina Valley Hawks in Winnipeg at the Scotiabank Hockey for All Center. You're watching the MFHL podcast here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. Izzy, Mann joining the show next after this commercial break. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Number 10, team captain, senior forward of the Winnipeg Ice, and Izzy Mann joining this edition of the MFHL podcast. Izzy, your team going to be back in action this week and take on some more MFHL opponents. But so far, this team on a bit of a losing streak, starting off the season well, playing in many different places so far this year. What's it been like so far this year, a part of this Winnipeg Ice squad?
It's been really good. I think that we have a really good group of girls. Obviously, you mentioned a losing streak, but it's really early in the season. We have a very young team, so there's a period of time to adjust to the speed of play because U18 is very different from U15. So I think we're in a good place right now. Practices are good. We're developing well, and I think we're looking good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and a bit of a different start to this year compared to last year, but every year a bit different. And this team missed some notable pieces from last year to this year. What's it been like, for the returning players, stepping up a bit and being more relied upon in different roles this season compared to last, maybe?
Yeah, I think that a lot of players had to step up their game this year just because we did lose a good chunk of our team. But I think that everybody has adjusted really well to taking on not necessarily a new role, but maybe having added some different things that they maybe looked upon, like as the second year or third year. But I think that everybody's adjusted really well, and that our upcoming players also have filled those spots that may have been left by other players. So I think that it's well rounded right now.
For sure, and a lot of season left to be played still. This Winnipeg Ice team, looking
Yeah,
at the standings, hasn't played as much compared to other teams in the league.
no.
Only one more game played than the Interlake Lightning, who have played the least in 9 games. But for yourself, a bit of a change for you this year as you get the C on your jersey, getting the captaincy year after Stephanie Jacob held it. What's it been like, being the captain so far this year, donning the C for this Ice squad?
I would like obviously it's an honor to wear the C for the Winnipeg Ice, but I wouldn't say that it necessarily changes who I am as a person or a player. I think that we have good leaders throughout our team from first years to all the way through third year. So yes, it is a different role, and there may be more expectations on me as a player to perform or help the team through some tough times or some little bit of adversity. But I feel like we have really good support from our coaches and all the way through our team that it hasn't been very hard and it's just been enjoyable.
Well, you had a chance to have an enjoyable experience playing for Team Manitoba's U18 women's national squad this year, a few weeks ago now that tournament concluded. But getting a chance to play with, players from all around the MFHL from different leagues as well here in Manitoba, you ended up scoring a goal as well in one of those 5 games. Take me back to that experience, even though it wasn't long ago at this point.
It was an awesome experience. I had so much fun. There was definitely room and there was improvement I felt throughout that week just because it's new to learn how to play with different players and obviously it is the best of the best. So it was a game or so to adjust to a new speed even for me. But I had an awesome experience and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, and you had a chance to go with your teammate in Avery Lazarenko. How special is that getting to, take on that experience with a teammate you've gotten to know pretty well?
Yeah, me and Laz are pretty close, and it was awesome to get that experience and be able to share it with her. We've kind of been together for the past 3 years, and I thought that it was really fun, and we both enjoyed the experience and made a lot of new friends and memories out of that trip.
Yeah, and of course, getting to, bring what you learned back from those games to this Winnipeg Ice squad. Is there anything in particular that I guess stood out to you in that tournament that you've kind of keyed in on and looking at that's something that I want to implement into my game or something that I want to do at a more consistent level that you saw, the highest level players do from all across the country in that tournament?
Yes, it was awesome to be able to watch players who are that elite. And there's definitely a few things that I take away from them. Just the speed at which they think the game and make the plays is very beneficial to the success of any team because if you move the puck faster than the other team, it's very hard to defend. So I would say that is something that I'm trying to implement in my own game back on Winnipeg Ice is just the speed at which like I make plays and hard consistent passes, I would say is the most effective thing that I saw because it leads to the success of a play.
Well, for yourself, I mean, a lot of success so far for your club in the Winnipeg Ice, leading the team in points so far through 16 games played for yourself. Just by speaking to you, though, it seems like you like to think the game at a high level. It seems like, IQ, a huge part of your game. Can you describe what type of player Izzy Mann is out there to maybe someone who hasn't seen you play before?
I would consider myself more of a playmaker. I have the ability to score, but I'm very fast, 200-foot player. I take responsibility in my defensive game over priority on my offensive game because ultimately defense does lead to the success of a game and a team. So that is kind of how I look at myself as a player.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like the way you look at the game very much lines up with how Eugene Kaminsky thinks the game as well. How beneficial has it been for yourself, I guess, to wind up with this Winnipeg Ice team and being able to develop your game like you have in a very, team-friendly puck-moving system?
I am very honored and privileged that I get to play for the Winnipeg Ice. I wouldn't change the past 3 years of my hockey experience for anything. I think that my coaching staff has helped me tremendously over the past 2 years and continue to help me right now through personal development, development of my knowledge of the game, and as a team, yeah, we think very similar, and so it's always awesome to be able to go to him for advice and feedback. He's always ready with something to help me further improve my game.
Yeah, and Eugene been there from the start with this Winnipeg Ice squad and into another year with this team. Like yourself, Izzy, taking on the Pembina Valley Hawks in a lone regular season matchup this weekend coming up. A team that can give any type of team in this league a pretty good test when they're on their game. Is this team, looking to be dialed in heading into this one, keeping it loose? What's been the mindset heading into this one game on the weekend on tap?
Well, practices this week have been very intense, and we are obviously looking at every single game is the same as every other. It doesn't matter which opponent we're playing. We're coming in dialed in and ready to give it our best game, no matter our opponents. Obviously, we've played Pembina Valley before, but we know how strong of a team any team in this league can be, and we need to be on our A game against no matter what team we play.
Yeah, and of course, a bit of a break afterwards in league play. Not going to be back in action until the 13th of December. Does that make maybe this matchup even that much more important, knowing that this team's been on a losing streak, knowing how intense the practices have been to build some good momentum, some good mojo heading into the December matchups?
Yes, I would say that this game is fairly important for us. We are all looking to kind of get back on the winning side of things, but ultimately, a win comes from every single piece of our game and our play working out. So our defensive neutral zone and offensive zone have to be pretty good against any team. And so I feel like this game is a little bit of a confidence booster for us as a group, just knowing that things like ups and downs happen throughout every season. It's early on, but just a little bit of a confidence boost in the right direction that the stuff we have been working on and the work that we've been putting in is paying off.
Well, we're going to be keeping an eye on this one here coming up on Saturday, as the Ice going to be at home to take on the Pembina Valley Hawks, and one game for them on the weekend to end off their November schedule of play. Their captain, Izzy Mann, looking to be a big part of their success in that game and continuing moving forward this season. Thank you, Izzy, for joining the show, and yeah, can't wait to see what this Winnipeg Ice team will be able to do the rest of the way this year.
Thank you for having me.
Izzy Mann joining this edition of the MFHL podcast, brought to you by Terraco. Make hand fasteners and tools, goaltenders, as well as Can Central Sports Cards and memorabilia. Taking a look at the top leading point getters in the MFHL. Through 5 weeks of action so far, the Eastman Selects, of course, already kicking off their week 5 or their week 6 on Monday. It's Rio Pierre who's atop of the leaderboards in terms of not only the points right now with 29 in stunning 11 games played, but also leading the league in assists by three more than Beta Rigo, who has 15 in 13 games played. As for the goal leaders, it's Ivy Perkin who's leading all players in the league right now with a goal a game right now on average with 14 and 14 games played. As for the goaltenders, told you about her, and there it is, that record 5-0-0 for Madeline Sylvester, and a stunning 9.46 save percentage. Addison Tomes a bit better in that regard though, with a 9.52 save percentage. In terms of the wins leaders in this league, is that's where these stats are taking priority in terms of how they're being toggled from the website. On this screenshot, there's 5 goaltenders in total with 4 wins. Those other goaltenders outside of Hack and Merksix is Cassia Rakowski for the Pembina Valley Hawks, Indigo Stone for the Westman Wildcats, as well as as we take a look here. Adriana Almeida as well, as she's on this list. So yeah, the other two that aren't on this list, Rakowski and Indigo Stone. Check out MFHL U18AAA.com for all the full stats surrounding this league. And not only the stats, but you get a chance to take a look at the upcoming games and any news that this league posts about what's happening from around the teams, the players, what not. But yeah, in terms of what we're going to be doing next year, I'm going to be ending off this edition of the MFHL podcast with some final words after this next transition here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. Well, you've made it to the end of another edition of the MFHL podcast here on G-Show Productions. Thank you for tuning in this afternoon, everybody, on this Friday. Last November show of the year. Will be back live again next Friday. Time to be announced at this point. So what we're going to be doing is announcing the guest list, as well as what time episode 9 is going to be dropping next week on our social media platforms on Instagram, X, as well as maybe Facebook too, but Instagram and X for sure, as well as posting the details on our website at gshow.ca. yeah, if you are new here or you're a returning viewer, no matter what the case may be, thank you for tuning into this one. I can't wait for what next week's edition of the podcast has in store. Thank you to Westman Wildcats head coach Troy Giould, as well as Winnipeg Ice captain and Izzy Mann for joining this edition of the podcast as this week's guests. And special shout out to our sponsors in Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, Cannon Fasteners and Tools, and Goaltenders for continuing to support the coverage of Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League hockey here on the network. As for us, outside of the next edition of the MFHL podcast, which is going to be dropping in a week from now in 7 days, we're not going to be done with our MFHL content just yet, as we'll be live from Stonewall Veterans Memorial Complex tomorrow night to broadcast this game that's going to be played against the Wildcats and the Lightning at 8 p.m. Central Time. Pre-game show, hoping to get it started just after 7:50 p.m. from Stonewall tomorrow. Puck drops at 8 p.m. here on gshow.ca in the place to play in Manitoba in the MFHL for U18 AAA Female Hockey League players. But that's it for this Friday afternoon, everybody. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and saying so long, everybody. Take care, have a wonderful and safe weekend out there. Stay warm as well, as it's getting pretty darn cold here, pretty darn chilly in Manitoba as winter is officially here. Hope you all stay bundled up and warm and enjoy yourselves this weekend, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next Friday.